Bill Gates, he just admitted something that I just can't believe. And to be honest with you guys, you're probably not going to believe it either. So we've had a couple of messed up years, right? It's actually no joking matter, especially since a lot of people died, not just to a virus, but supposedly some people also died due to medication. But still, even with the C-19 virus behind us, it kind of feels as if they want more fear out in the world. You know what I'm saying? Even though there seems to be enough of that with the conflicts with Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Iran, and so many other countries that continue to become involved, Gates on his end is saying that this is a bigger concern. They, however, have not said anything about people coming into the United States, even though it's a very urgent concern for a growing number of Americans. But you know what Bill Gates is worried about? The simple fact of the matter that people continue to be hesitant to get a jab and continue to believe all of this misinformation.
I mean, COVID has also changed our relationship to healthcare. What does that mean for vaccination hesitancy in developing countries and developed nations?
Well, the misinformation about vaccines and associating certain people like myself or Fauci having malign intent with vaccines, that was most acute in the United States. But the pandemic, which you would have thought, wow, global health research to talking about health, being ready for the next pandemic, when you've got millions of deaths, isn't that, it's sad, it's tragic, but isn't at least there a benefit that health is on the agenda? Sadly, it's a topic nobody wants to talk about because it was painful, it's over, let's move on from that. And even the idea of, okay, the importance of WHO, the importance of vaccine research, and telling people, hey, vaccines really are very well tested.
These vaccines are so well tested that Pfizer CEO didn't even want to answer questions about it during the last World Economic Forum get together. Now, before I get any deeper into this thing, understand that I'm going by the actual numbers, guys. We're going by actual data instead of just listening to the narrative, because I understand that we might have different points of view here. But there are certain times when actions speak louder than words. However, if you go back to what Bill Gates just said, his words were way louder. So he says that misinformation put Fauci and him in a bad light, but that we need to listen to whatever they're saying as well as what the WHO or the World Health Organization's peddling. Now, I'm just a little bit curious here. Do you guys have any clue as to who funds these organizations, these groups? One of its main sources of funding comes from none other than the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I think it's like 88%? That's more than the lion's share, right? It's almost kind of like we can say that the WHO is under the Gates care, you know what I'm saying? Which kind of makes his statement regarding trusting the group kind of weird. Almost like saying, hey, just trust me because I am the whole group. Anyway, it's like as if I sent out a tweet or maybe even a video where I talk about a specific investment that I'm saying is going to yield like 200% profits in 1 year. And then when I get asked about the proof and where I got the numbers from, it would then just kind of point you to my own tweet and my own channel. Isn't that kind of weird? But sure, let's go ahead and go with what he's saying, all right? So in short, he means that the vaccine hesitancy that we've been seeing around the country is due to misinformation. Now, it is kind of funny though, because back in 2010, Gates also seemed to be a victim of misinformation. However, it was his own words that kind of put us in this loop. Now, I want you guys to listen to this objectively, okay? And remember, this was way back in 2010, more than 10 years before the C-19 health crisis. Check this out.
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3.
And just to clarify, he was talking about CO2 emissions here, okay? But it's kind of hard to ignore the fact that, he said that doing a great job with new vaccines would actually help lower the population. I mean, if people take the vaccines and are healthier for it, shouldn't that help keep the population up, not lower it? So news outlets were all over this back then, pretty much saying that Bill Gates meant something else compared to what he said. But given what has actually happened these past few years, what do you think he really meant with this? Now, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt, that maybe he didn't mean what he said, or maybe in any case, we just misunderstood it altogether. But it's also important that we talk about how this hesitancy is being pinned on social media. Kind of like how most of us found out about some of the stuff that we're talking about right now that we're being kept under wraps. I mean, that video of of Bill Gates was posted on social media years after it came out. So I guess I can kind of see why they don't like how misinformation is supposedly going around through it, and how it convinces people that jabs that don't have enough clinical research might not be safe for them. Now, I think it's important to note that, while all of this is happening, as they continue to talk about hesitancy and all that jazz, there's also more talk about measles. And who better to talk about it than who? Right, the WHO. So they posted this recently, and it's apparently about the rapid escalation of cases in Kazakhstan and what they're doing about it. Do you guys have any guesses as to what the WHO or the WHO is focused on here? Anybody? Anyone? Oh yeah, it's all about isolation and vaccination. That kind of rhymed, didn't it? Isolation, vaccination? Yeah. So yeah, they're completely focused on the two things that were deemed essential throughout the course of the whole health crisis. Are you guys at all surprised? I also want to ask if any of you guys think that it's our fault that more of us don't trust these vaccines, because that's what this study is claiming, that it's our behavior that has changed and that we need to change in order to accept the science.
The World Health Organization has issued a caution about measles. More than 42,000 cases were reported in parts of Europe and Central Asia, with these 10 countries topping the list over the last year. Measles typically starts out like a cold with a cough, runny nose, and red eyes, usually followed by a rash a few days later. Experts say the recent spread is largely because many young children missed routine vaccinations during COVID.
We know that during the COVID-19 pandemic, rates of vaccination for childhood diseases like measles went down around the world, particularly in places where measles have not been eliminated as a disease. And therefore, it stands to reason that we would see increased measles circulation. And when it circulates in anywhere in the world, travelers who go to that place can bring it back home with them.
In Canada, doctors say measles has effectively been eliminated.
Measles essentially arrives in Canada one of two ways. It's brought in when somebody acquires it abroad, or it is transmitted from someone who's traveled to a close contact.
Last year, 12 cases were reported in Canada. So far in 2024, there is one known measles case that was acquired through international travel. Doctors say getting vaccinated is the best way to protect yourself.
If you are exposed to someone with measles and you're not vaccinated, your chance of getting measles is upwards of 90%. People tend to think of it as a cold with a rash, but in particular in children under the age of 5, it can be deadly.
There is a growing risk of exposure to measles in Philadelphia. They have added to a list of risky locations first released last month, and say the heightened concern is because someone did not follow the proper quarantine, and really because other people aren't doing things that are very easy to do. Action News reporter Corey Davis is live in Northeast Philadelphia with the update. Corey.
Matt, good morning. Those things include getting vaccinated, according to health officials. We're also told that 2 people are still in the hospital this morning suffering from measles. One of them, at least one of them, is linked to this daycare, the Multicultural Education Station daycare on Castor Avenue. There's a sign also on the front door letting families know that several children are experiencing symptoms. Health officials say measles is very contagious and especially dangerous to those who are not immune or vaccinated.
Now, I got a feeling that we're going to get even more of these warnings and studies as the year goes on, especially as they continue to push more numbers on us. But I got a feeling that the hesitancy toward these vaccines is going to be a huge challenge for them, one that they may not be able to overcome. But as I always say, guys, you guys are free to do whatever you want, especially if you trust the science. All I know is I'm going to be here for you guys to inform you guys of all of the truth behind all of it, so long as you tune in every single day. Now, before I go, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.